Peter Garyaev's band discovery or why the great Russian scientist was killed. Peter Peterovich Garyaev died unexpectedly on November 17. He was 79 years old. P.P. Garyaev opened a new era in the science of genetics. Another illogical inconceivable event took place. Peter Peterovich Garyaev left our world on November 17, an excellent scientist, geneticist. Those who knew him and kept in touch with him throughout the years know that Peter Peterovich enjoyed perfect health and virtually had no illnesses. He departed when he was less than a step away from being recognized by the world for his discoveries, mainly for his theory on wave genetics, and could have gained international recognition alongside the biggest names in science of the 20th and 21st centuries. This year he was nominated for Nobel Prize in the field of science. The band discovery of Peter Garyaev. Or why was the great Russian scientist killed? Vladimir Fortov, the president of the Russian Academy of Sciences. Fortov, the president of the Russian Academy of Sciences, has been persecuting me for over 12 years. Practically since I returned from Canada, where we worked together for over a year. With Tertis in Toronto and discovered proofs of key importance about the spread of genetic information through waves. About the regeneration of the pancreas and of bacteria. I am not going into great details. But we achieved fascinating results with working with bacteria. So, after I came back, Fortov prevented me from continuing my work at the leading institute of the Russian Academy of Sciences. When I created a group in Moscow, a scientific work group dash, he dissolved it, chased all my colleagues away. I have made another group. Then a third one, he destroyed all of them. I was invited to the University of Bauman, to one of our biggest state universities, which is the second best university after the Lebediev Research Institute. There I was given a work group and I was funded. They gave me what I needed. We were about to start working when Fortov rang the rector of the Moscow State Technical University with the excuse to abolish Garyaev's group. What is he chasing me for? Fortov is also a physicist. He is investigating plasma. Why is he interfering in genetics? Perhaps he is only following central orders? Or he simply wants to block our progression here? He got rid of my group from the University of Bauman. Then I founded the Incom Science Limited, in which I could work a little until that also got closed. At the same time I also created another work team in Nizhny Novgorod. I thought that if my work is being hindered in Moscow, at least I can work in Nizhny Novgorod. Hopefully they wouldn't reach there. However, they found me there also. They eliminated all 4 teams in total. Of course I didn't give up there either. I founded the Research Center of Quantum Genetics, which was registered as a group with limited liability. It has private ownership so they cannot pressure me, unless by means of physical threats. Thank God so far this has not happened. I have encountered countless difficulties. But that's how it is, we have to fight for the new. I travel a lot. I have given presentations all over the world, in the US, in the UK, in France, in Germany, in the Czech Republic, in Hungary, Japan, South Korea. At least I get listened to there. I teach people, although unfortunately the Canadian model prevails everywhere. They want to get as much as possible, but in return empty promises. This is capitalism, you can't change it. I don't want to scold the healthcare system. Myself was working there also for 10 years. As a lead researcher with Yevgeny Chazov on the 4th General Department. Later at the Research Center, then at the Center of Cardiology I continued my work. I worked there for 10 years so I had the opportunity to really look into the dark side of healthcare. Look, it's like being trapped in a closed system where there's no way out. I call this the box effect. What happens to a box which is held together by a bunch of nails? And when one gets loose and the whole box could fall apart. What can we do then? Well, it has to be hammered until the loose nail gets back into its place. Or, that nail has to be taken out and replaced with a stronger one. You understand, right? That's how the healthcare system is. If you stand out a little, someone will tap you on the head. Although we see a little progress, it's still very slow. We could advance 1,000 times faster if there were no obstacles. Yes, in medicine, in genetics, in the field of stem cells. We could progress much faster. The cause is inertia, helplessness, old ways, being stuck. So much money is defrauded by selling fake medicines. From the distribution of so-called placebo, which has zero healing effect. In essence, I don't condemn the placebo effect, it has an important suggestive role. People can spend millions on colorful pills just because of some famous or trendy name. They buy these and believe they have obtained some exceptional medication. Statistical analysis in the USA shows almost no difference between the effects of placebo and actual medication. They also depicted that I am offering placebo to people. The deal is, placebo has no effect on children, and how could it have any effect on plants? When we transferred genetic information over a 7-kilometer distance, neither it affected rats when we transferred information over 20 kilometers for pancreas regeneration. We continued these experiments in Toronto, Moscow, and Nizhny Novgorod, then again in Moscow when we involved an independent team. What kind of placebo could it have been? How can a researcher have an effect on the growth of a rat's pancreas? In reality, the placebo could have a positive effect on a patient, but in such an operation the placebo effect is practically impossible. This has nothing to do with placebo. I can assure you that the effects of our treatments are not the results of placebo, even if some of my malevolent ill-wishers want to relate it back to that. Placebo is essentially a scam, that's clear to everyone. We still have a lot of patents despite the Russian Federal Service of Intellectual Property (ROS) patent rejecting most our initiatives in medicine. We handed in 10 applications with my team and all were rejected with the excuse of our projects not falling within their competence. Neither like the patenting of the perpetual motion machine falls within their competence. Without a doubt there is a central order for that too. What I suspect is that this information is leaked to the West. In other words, any potential initiative in its most initial phase is repressed at home, Russia, in order to be able to pass it on to someone else. I hope I'm wrong, but I believe this is the pattern. I remember when I was a final year undergraduate and worked at ROS Patent to make some money. They kept banging on about having to find any excuse and reject any original idea. Your task is to hinder and impede any innovative solutions. I resigned. There was nothing else I could do. Information is the most valuable product, so to whom it goes must be considered thoroughly. Only a general and brief description is included in the patent description, leaving out the most important parts. The know-how. Inventions nowadays are only fleetingly mentioned without specifics, making it virtually impossible to exploit it unduly. Nevertheless, part of this information leaks out, and that is the most valuable product. This is why inventors try to withhold information as long as they possibly can. The explanation is simple. Furthermore, the West is not interested in Russia being populated with academics. For the West we are only work-stock animals. The aim is to put yoke on us and treat us like animals. In addition, there are different tools now that are used to get to their objectives, through brainwashing, through films, TV programs, drugs, alcohol, etc. The country is being destroyed and rotting from the inside. The power to develop is lost in humans. They become animals. What does an animal need? It's done, it's over. They die, they perish, and that's it. To this day there is no cure for Ebola or HIV, it's incurable. People are being constantly poisoned. Perhaps looking for another approach is justified. In our experiments there were examples where we killed bacteria, pathogenic bacteria. This means that we have the solution and we could also be sure of it. A mother wrote to me that her son had a disease called Pseudomonas aeruginosa, antibiotics were not helping, she didn't know what to do and her son was dying. I told her to go to a microbiology lab and have bacteria grow. Have the test tube heated in order to kill the bacteria inside, then close the tube and send it to me. I have registered the spectrum just like how we did it with the plant experiments. Then from the dead Pseudomonas aeruginosa bacteria strains that I had, I made a sound recording and sent to the mother via email. The mother played the recording to the son, he listened, and the Pseudomonas aeruginosa disappeared. There was also a patient who suffered from tuberculosis. TB is incurable as we know. I offered to run an experiment with Escherichia coli, so I could prove that TB can be killed. The same thing is happening with the Mycobacterium tuberculosis bacteria, I am telling you. The answer: okay, let's have a look. They thought about the result. Silence. What's the point? Of course, more and more medication is being made for TB and big money is being made from the sales. And what can they do with this? I recommended the same with the AIDS virus. Give me a dead AIDS virus, even a small lab sample is enough, not much is needed for the experiment. The cross-section of the laser beam is barely half a millimeter, so even a drop of the dead virus is more than enough to register the information of the substance and develop a quantum vaccine. Or give me some from the Ebola. Today Ebola is the second biggest threat in the US. Russia is number 1, Ebola is number 2. But they don't know what to do against it. Hundreds if not thousands of people can be infected. According to Luc Montagier, the virus can spread and reproduce via quantum teleportation. Not only airborne through air or droplets, with sneezing or touch, but through quantum information transmission without any movement of the actual virus. Give me a dead Ebola virus so I can develop a quantum vaccine against the Ebola. Then all you have to do is play the recording to the whole of Africa so they all hear it. That's all. No. Again, I only found deaf ears, zero reaction. They are also battling deforestation in Canada. I offered to help. They have beautiful wild pines. They grow huge, up to 30 meters high, a deep forest. Now, as the Earth's climate changes, the climate in Canada has become much warmer. Due to milder winters, pests also multiply much faster. The unprecedented pine beetle epidemic has been raging for years. As we went from Toronto to New York, we saw tens of thousands of miles of dry, rotten wood, which means they can't do anything about it. They are afraid of chemicals. They are afraid that they are poisoning themselves, so they prefer to burn with fire. It's like burning banknotes, losing a lot. I told them to give me this bug, I'll destroy it, the same way I destroyed that plant and also the way I healed those children. I will only aim for this insect, it will not cause harm to the environment. It does not act like defoliants, after which not even a blade of grass remains, or pesticides that kill everything along with the pine beetle. Genetic engineering would only achieve the same, the result would be no better. I can eliminate this insect, I said, just give it a chance, give me money, yet I will not do it kneeling under the trees. Silence. Unfortunately, this is always the case, new things usually provoke fierce, enraged resistance. Simply gobsmacking. Luc Montagnier was jailed, saying he must be working for Chinese orders. In 4 years, not one of his publications has been published, not a single one. I'm sorry. But, as they say, nothing can be done, life is like that. You need to figure something out so that people find out what it really is. And only then can joint decisions be made. The time will come when this method will be applied. It is very important that it is error-proof. For example, if someone wants to use it against their enemy, they would fail miserably themselves. There is not a more terrible weapon than this. I condemn such a thing, and I would never do such things. It has been raised several times in connection with viruses. That there is a phenomenon which significantly accelerates the spread of the infection amongst humans. That is exactly what Nobel Prize-winning scientist Luc Montagnier says, who, completely independently from me, came to the same conclusion. Viruses are practically the soundtracks of the tape of our own genetic information. That is, it is not necessary at all for the virus to enter the body. It is enough for someone to receive a copy of the quantum. We also use such quantum copies in healing people. The trick is that someone figured out how to apply this technology in a way that he does not pose a danger to himself or is only moderately dangerous. In fact, their idea is to destroy billions of people, so that instead of 7 billion people, only 1 million should live on Earth. Therefore, they are ruthless even against their own. In my opinion, viral infections, like bacterial infections, are spread by quantum teleportation. This is part of the language wave neogenetics that is currently under development in closed military structures. But they are condemned, denied, and considered as pseudoscience in public. This is to discourage other countries, from addressing this issue. And they do it themselves. The pandemic has been too large to believe it is traditionally spread by droplet, airborne transmission. Then comes the Ebola virus and so on. Military technologies are certainly evolving day by day. However, the principle is the same, creating a quantum copy of the genetic elements, which can spread in all directions and can target individual countries. They may be able to direct the spread in a focused manner, although this is quite difficult. The spread of quantum infections of this nature is difficult to focus because of the torsion fields. These are so-called spin fields, yet the above technique still seems feasible. The result is plain and visible: mass infection, death. One must rise to a higher spiritual level in order to be able to defend oneself mentally. You need to create a mental shell, get your body to work in a protective mode. We can teach ourselves not to receive or not to inactivate this information. Since human consciousness is able to influence these torsion fields, it can divert these to another direction or create a chaotic state in them using polarization vectors. This can be solved on a mental level, but technically there are no filters against such infections yet. Of course, we can wrap ourselves up in tinfoil hats, or try other means of protection. Maybe we will succeed. We still have a lot of work to do on this. The point is that the solution should not be sought individually or in smaller groups of researchers, but also through comprehensive research with public support. We probably have some kind of closed research going on here, too. I can't judge, I have no idea, to be honest. I am not involved in this. I do not want to serve war and destructive purposes against humanity. But in order to protect, we need to work, we need to do serious research. Just like when my colleagues, along with my students, performed pancreatic regeneration on animals. How the transfer of genetic information works has been examined. Even a doctoral dissertation on this topic was defended by Nikolai Kazayev, one of my colleagues in Nizhny Novgorod. The results were summarized in an article and then went on. They also presented the possibility of developing wave and quantum immunity. The study was performed on animals using strong toxins. The results showed that if the test animals, i.e. their pancreas, were irradiated in advance, then they become resistant to alloxin. It was an unprecedented experiment that showed that quantum immunity to toxins may develop. This is just one such case, with alloxin. Since then, of course, there have been several attempts, the results of which have been published, mostly in military journals. So that would be the right way, one way to go, the activation of quantum immunity in humans. How this can be achieved en masse, I do not yet know. But we believe that we should start with a group of 100 to 200,000 people. We would affect the study participants with torsion fields, which are harmless by themselves, but have a protective effect against poisons. It is possible that we can exhibit similar immunity to viruses and pathogenic bacteria. However, this is a more challenging, complex job. Unfortunately, with our small group of researchers, it would be impossible to realize this, especially by being constantly oppressed. That certain fifth pillar that, at the behest of the United States, hinders the development of science in Russia, and in particular the development of quantum language wave genetics. If you would allow me, I would ask a question in relation to coronavirus and influenza. I have heard and read several times that you claim that there are two forms of coronavirus infection. Would you tell me exactly what the two forms are? First of all, it needs to be clarified what COVID-19 really is. It is a biological life form that has a collective meaning, a collective thinking. This virus exists in two forms, physical and spatial. It is spread in its physical form in the air by droplet infection. So, we're talking about how it's spreading, aren't we? Yes, and its field form penetrates our organic biospace. And that is possible by resonance? By resonance.